while the first period was going on. My warrior of a wife had our third daughter while we were on the ice. So really proud of her. It's tough, and you obviously want to be there for the birth of your children, and didn't know it was coming this soon, but can't wait to go see her. So Sutton Kimberly Strome is my third daughter, was born at 7:30 today. So it was really quick. She felt it 2 hours before, and it just happened. There was nothing I could do to get there. So super proud of her, and just definitely playing with a lot of emotions. I found out after the first period tonight. I heard before the game and kind of talked about what I should do. I mean, there was nothing I could do to get back. So just really proud of her, and it's not easy. We go on the road a lot, and women go through a lot, and their bodies change so much, and just for her to do that herself is it's unbelievable.
Okay, Gabby, that was Dylan Strome last Thursday after the game against the Montreal Canadiens, and congratulations to the Strome family, wife Taylor, and of course Dylan, greeting baby girl Sutton Kimberly. As he said, Gabby, he was in Montreal, couldn't get back to see the birth of his daughter. Can you relate?
Well, I can't relate to the fact that while I was playing, one of my children were born, but I can relate a little bit on a stupid story. But I played in Germany in '84, and this is where my son Ben was born, in Germany. So we got the call to get to the hospital, and so I'm a foreigner in a land that I had only been there for a couple months. I knew nothing, right? And no language or anything. So we were struggling. So we get my wife into the bed and everything, but there's no doctor. The doctor didn't show up. Okay. So
Healthy scratch.
So there's only a midwife. They had a midwife would help deliver the baby with the doctor all the time. So in her German trying to communicate with me, I had to be the midwife. So she delivered the baby, and I was pulling Ben's head out. And
no way.
If you ever look at him, he's got dents in his head because I was squeezing his head so hard. And I'm squeezing and pulling him out, and she's going, Vit, or whatever the language is, faster. And all of a sudden, his neck is stretching. I swear to God, his neck was stretching when I was pulling him out. And I'm going, it's not coming. And we had a devil of a time getting Ben out, but I delivered the baby. So anytime you go to see Ben, okay, and you talk to him, if he's a little weird, okay, it's because I squeezed his head in half and I pulled him out and I delivered him. So
are there any other professions you're proficient in, Gabby? I had no idea you could deliver a baby.
Well, I really couldn't, but I mean, thank God my wife was really good, and she wasn't yelling at me at the time. She was yelling because evidently I was hurting her. How could I do that? So it was pretty incredible, though, bringing Ben out, because I can still see the vision of me pulling him out and the midwife yelling at me because I didn't understand her. She didn't understand me. And then 3/4 of the way through, the doctor comes in and he goes, okay, I'll take over. And then that was it. But I think the damage had already been done.
Who do you think my first text is to after the show today?
Ben. I'm Ben.
Right away. Just a really simple, now I understand everything. Now I get it all. You have a quick, I got to, I have a lot of time for the Strome family. I really like Chris. I really like Trish. I got to spend some time with them in Quebec City at the Memorial Cup, at the awards banquet specifically. Had a great dinner, great conversation with both of them. They are salt of the earth. Dylan's a talented hockey player. Ryan's a talented hockey player. Matt is a talented hockey player. Scored one of the biggest goals in the history of U16 at the OHL Cup once upon a time. Do you have a thought on Dylan Strome and or the Strome family?
Well, first of all, I met the Strome family, the parents, for the first time this year. I think they were at opening night. And what I couldn't believe, here's a dad that has 3 kids playing. And he was like so enamored, like he was still a fan.
Oh
Like, I
yeah.
mean, it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
like this is old hat type thing. And we talked for about a half an hour about the Mississauga. I think he's from Mississauga area, and
Yep. West of Toronto.
Dylan growing up, and him watching me. Like, I mean, he was really down to earth, which I would think
Yeah.
all the time. If I didn't know any of these people, that, I mean, they would be a little snobby because they got so many kids playing hockey at high levels. But he was really right down to earth. And as far as Dylan, I put in last year, I said, nobody knows this because, I mean, Washington wasn't like the capital of the world for media. But I mean, I thought Dylan should have been at least considered highly for the Four Nations Cup because he was having such a great year last year. And I mean, Ovi's not scoring 44 goals if Dylan Strome isn't on top of his game. But every time it
100%.
seemed like the Caps needed a goal or a big play, it was from him last year. And so, I mean, I really tried to focus on him a lot. And this guy is a really good player. Like, I mean, he just hasn't. I think what was he, third overall pick
Third overall,
in the
yes.
draft? Yeah, and I mean,
In the McDavid draft.
yeah, he's definitely playing like it right now. I think he's a really good player, and I thought the family was great, and the emotion that he showed the other day after the game, oof. Like, I don't think I could have gotten through that,
Yeah.
but it just shows how much love there is in that family. I was really taken aback, but really impressed.
Dr. Boudreau, paging Dr. Boudreau. Your show is now in labor, birth on the other side. Welcome to the Hockey Lifers, presented by PenFed Credit Union. Great rates for everyone. Okay, welcome once again to the program. I do not know how we're going to transition from that great story with Dr. Boudreau delivering Ben, but nonetheless, we soldier on. Coming up in moments, you'll hear from Edmonton Oilers general manager Stan Bowman. Had a chance to talk to Stan, Gabby, and I last Wednesday when the Oilers were in Washington to face off against the Capitals. But before we get there, Gabby, a couple of things from the week that was and the weekend that was around the NHL. Mikko Rantanen is not noted for being a particularly heavy or dangerous hitter. But in a game against the Islanders, hit from behind on Alexander Romanov, 5 in a game there, no suspension. And then we fast forward to Saturday in a game against the Calgary Flames, and the Dallas Stars forward again catches another player, Matt Coronado, with a hit from behind, 5 in a game there, a subsequent 1-game mandatory suspension for the 2-game misconducts. Before we get into some of the extracurricular issues around these events, what did you think of the hits, and what do you think of Rantanen?
Well, first of all, I think Rantanen's an unbelievable player, and people don't realize how big he is. I mean, this guy's a monster. I don't know how much he weighs, but he's got to be 6'4", 230, I would think. And the first hit, like, I mean, when you look at it in real time, it looks awful. It looks as bad a hit as you're ever going to see. And obviously, Romanoff is gone for the year, I think. So, I mean, it's
5 to 6,
really had an effect. But when you look at it closer, I think the reason he got off on any suspension or something, it looks like the skates ticked each other,
Yes.
or he sort of toe picked or something. So it wasn't completely Rantanen giving him that little shove, even though those little shoves are the most dangerous things. When you think you're not doing much, but you give them that, whether it was on the back, or sometimes you used to get them, the players would give you the under the knee, like right in the crux of the knee, and you would go flying into the boards and that. But I think he escaped it. I mean, I didn't think the next check was all that bad, to be honest. I thought it was more from the side and that the player turned into him. But it's so fresh in the referees' minds, in the league's minds, on what he just did to Romanoff, that you have to give him a penalty. And I think that's what happened. I mean, if this was an isolated incident, it would have been maybe a 5-minute penalty and game, and then nobody would said nothing about it. But I mean, there is a rule that if you get 2 minors or 2 game misconducts within 41 days or something, and you get an automatic third one. And I think that's the rule that they're using to give him a suspension. But I mean, they couldn't let that go and not give him a suspension of some kind. Like, it's not even out yet whether they're going to ask for supplemental discipline yet, even above and beyond that. I don't think they will do it because of that check, because that check didn't warrant it. But I mean, the combination of two checks, I'm sure he'd be getting a call. Come on, like Coley would be calling him and going, "Hey, Mikko, come on, man. Listen, just score goals. Leave everybody else alone, will you?" And because they don't need that. But I mean, it's definitely out of character. I think a little bad luck on his part, but he deserves 1 game suspension at least, and that's what he's getting.
So one of the sidebars to all of this, as Rantanen got kicked out of that Islanders game, Patrick Waugh, head coach of the New York Islanders, yelled at him saying, quote, "You're not going to effing finish that game." And what he's referring to is there is another game between Dallas and the New York Islanders at UBS, March the 26th. Now, here's what I've wondered about, and I've asked coaches about it, and it's always been, as I've been led to believe, bad form or an unwritten rule that if you don't get on the ice, you don't yell at players or you don't threaten players. Is that a rule that you subscribe to? Is that one of the unwritten rules or codes of the game that unless you're putting skates on and getting out here, you don't talk to the players on the ice?
Absolutely. I mean, I used to take affront when other coaches would yell at players. I mean, because then what you have to do as a coach is you have to yell at the coach and just say, lighten up, like it's not, you're not playing the game. You worry about your bench. I'll worry about my bench. And there's a couple coaches great coaches in the NHL that were really bad at it or bad for it. They're not coaching right now, but they will be again coaching very soon, I assume. But I'm not going to mention who they are. But it used to drive me nuts when you're not playing the game. Don't come over and start something because no matter how they started, they could start it by yapping. They would never be doing the fighting if it came to that. So, I mean, if you're not going to be involved in it, just shut up and worry about your team.
You know what? That's interesting, Gabby, because one coach that I talked to positioned it this way to me. He said, the reason I don't scream at players on the ice is what it says to all the players on my bench is you guys need to go fight my battles for me since you're getting out there on the ice. I'm just going to bark and then you go do the fighting for me. Does that resonate with you as well as far as logic?
That's pretty well what I said when, or in a roundabout way. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Like, I mean, I could yell at you and then a player sitting on your bench going, "Oh, I'm going to get in the coach's good graces. I'm going to go fight this guy." Or the coaches saying, "Go fight this guy, take him out," and without really saying it so he can't get in trouble. And then I do it, I'm going to get in trouble and the coach is going to walk away with it. So, I mean, I tried never to yell at the other team. And the only guy I ever did that to was Sean Avery, because he came right after me on the bench one day and started screaming. So I started screaming back at him.
Do you remember what you said?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it broadcast worthy?
No, it's not. But I mean, you know what happened was I put there was a portion of my first book and in it about Sean Avery when he got sent down from LA to Manchester. And it was about him being a complete dick of a teammate. And then the team got him a car to lease and everything else. And when we lost out in Bridgeport, he just left the car, didn't tell anybody, took off because he had already made his plans to go on vacation. So, like, I mean, a team that had fought so hard to be in first place all year lost out in the first round, and this guy was taken off because he already had his plans for vacation. So, I mean, the next day he must have read the book or somebody heard him. And he came out during warm-up, and he came right at me while I was watching the warm-up on the bench. And he didn't skate one ounce in warm-up, stood on the red line and just started screaming at me and calling me every name in the book.
Jeez.
And I was going, hey, Sean, lighten up, kid. But I started swearing back at him when he started getting a little more personal than I thought he should have.
Well, the one thing that I had wondered about Patrick Waugh in that situation with Rantanen last week was, why didn't he go at Glenn Gulletson, the Dallas Stars head coach? And here's why. Going back to 2013, his first game as the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche, he's playing your Anaheim Ducks, and Ben Lovejoy had hit Nathan MacKinnon. I think that Corey Perry may have squirted a water bottle at Patrick, but it led to one of the great highlights that year, which we've all seen by now. But give us the backstory on that. You and Patrick Waugh going back and forth on the bench, Anaheim, Colorado, 2013.
Well, they were killing us. It was opening night for them, and I think they had a 6-0 lead or 5-0 lead, one of those two. And we scored. Jacob Silverberg scored with 6 seconds to go in the game. And so I just left that line out there. And he put some tough guys out there. And then the puck went with the draw, went to their bench. Matt Bolesky went to pick it up, and he got run, and a couple guys run like they were trying to start something. And I didn't even think anything of it. But Corey Perry was squirting water on these guys. But then Bob Woods came to me and he said, hey, Patrick is screaming at those guys. And so that's when I went over and said, Patrick, what the F you doing? Let the game go, blah, 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 just like we'd previously talked about. And he came looking at me, but I didn't see any eyes in his head. They'd already rolled back. So I was going, oh, shit, what have I got myself into? I'm going, cavalry, let's get over here. And so the other coaches came over, and then I start screaming at Patrick and standing up on the bench, and he gets on the bench, and there's Corey still squirting water at him and ticking him off even more. And then he backs up and he takes a run at the bench, and the glass goes 3/4 of the way, and I'm going, and then it was eventually restored. Okay. Mm-hmm. And but I thought it was like he had lost it for whatever reason. And by the way, he apologized at the draft the next year. But the funniest thing is we went into Colorado a little later on in the year, and the Corey's up there, and just before the start of the game, he's starting, and he goes over to the glass where Patrick was at, and he's pushing it, and then he takes off his glove and he gives me the thumbs up, coach. It's strong. They fixed it. Don't worry about it. This is before the start of the game.
Because when I saw it, I remember watching that game live. I'm like, that thing's coming down, and that thing's coming right down on Bruce.
Yes. And then, it wouldn't have been a fun thing. I would have been squished in there.
No fun at all. But that makes for a great story. Okay, you just mentioned Jacob Silverberg a second ago. His name is going to come up a little bit later on in the program. But first, our interview with Stan Bowman, Edmonton Oilers general manager. Gabby, we sat down with Stan, and of course, listen, when we talk about hockey royalty and hockey history, the Bowman name is, of course, legendary for obvious reasons. Both father and son have won Stanley Cups. And listen, Scotty did it with 3 different teams. Before we play the interview here, 1, do you have a thought on Stan? And 2, do you have a thought on the Oilers right now, who just finished up a tough road trip with a big win over the Florida Panthers?
Well, yeah, I thought Stan was great, by the way. I mean, he answered all the questions, but he you can tell these guys that have been around for a long time in big markets, and Stan's been in big markets in Chicago and Edmonton, they know how to answer questions without getting in trouble. That's the first thing I took about it. I was waiting for, okay, is he going to open the door where I can ask another question? No, he shut that door really tight. But he was great. And this is right before the game. And this is for a team that's struggling on the road. I think they had only won 3 games all year in regulation at that point. And he was so gracious to us and opened up and talked about his relationship with his dad, growing up in Buffalo with his dad as the coach and GM of the Sabres and everything. And I thought it was enlightening, and I thought he couldn't have been any nicer. And to do that, I got to believe if I'm a GM before a game and when we're struggling and things aren't going good and things didn't go good for them that game, I would probably have been a little more terse. Is that a word? Terse?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. That's a word.
That's what I would have been. Terse.
You're a doctor. You're also an English scholar now, Gabby. All these things we're learning about you here today. It's been a fascinating edition of the Hockey Lifers. In the meantime, enjoy our conversation with Edmonton Oilers General Manager Stan Bowman. Stan, first of all, thanks so much for doing this. On a game day, too, there's not a lot of people in organizations that'll do game day interviews, but Stan Bowman is not one of those people. So, Stan, thank you. One of the things that I've always felt about managers is, we're going to get to some fun stories here, don't worry, folks, with Gabby. I'll do the boring questions. I've always felt that one of the best skills a manager can have is patience.
Yeah.
And not rush into anything and not get pushed into doing anything. How long did it take you to learn that element of the job?
I think that's actually why I was attracted to this, because I don't, like, obviously with my dad's history as a coach, I knew from a young age that I just didn't have that personality. I've always been much more analytical and more think things through. So I think I was probably tailor-made for that, as opposed to, I never had an interest in coaching. I didn't think I'd be very good at it, actually. So
did you ever try it?
No, I never tried it. Not even coaching my kids. No, I just never. Someone's always joked, like, well, you just didn't want to follow in your dad's footsteps, and that might be true on a subconscious level, but not.
Yep.
I always thought that I like to kind of analyze the game and, maybe reflect on it. So the patience part, it does go with the job. If you want to be successful in management, you have to. You can't overreact to things, and
sure.
You have to take a wider view. And coaches are trying to win the game that night, and then when that's over, they want to win the game the next night. They're not really focused on what's down the road 6 months or a year.
I just want to get one thing out about your dad, just because I love this line. Like, Scotty has had some tremendous lines over the year, and the one that always stuck with me is, I hope I don't butcher this, on the road, every boo is a cheer. I'm like, ooh, that's a great line, Scotty. Does that resonate with you? On the road, every boo is a cheer.
Yeah, I think there is something about that.
You know that, Bruce.
Makes sense. You want the other team to boo you when you're on the road. Yeah. I got all the fluff questions, okay? So, I want to know, when you were growing up, did Dad bring it home at the dinner table? And did you sit there and he said, you wouldn't believe that practice today and how bad it was?
He didn't. No, he never did, which I think is something that was appreciated certainly by my mom. He never did that. He was always able to leave it, separate the two, and I would probably initiate those conversations and want to talk about the game.
Like you were inquiring.
Yeah.
Obviously you would go to whether it's Buffalo or Montreal, all of those, or you'd watch them anyway.
Yeah, I went to as many games. I was pretty young in Montreal. I moved away when I was 6, but Buffalo was really where I grew up, and I went to all the games. And I remember even when he eventually got let go there in Buffalo, and I was so upset because I wanted to still go to the games. I was still a fan of the team, and my mom's like, "No, we're not going to the games.
Not going to the odds, son."
No, but I feel like
it's amazing how that works.
Yeah, and it was funny, but you have to switch your allegiances quick, because then he went to Pittsburgh, and he was there just for a short amount of time. They had a great success. They won those cups in the early '90s. And then he got a chance to go to the Red Wings. And I remember, I was a huge Penguins fan at the time. And I remember thinking, I don't want to not cheer for Mario. He was my favorite player growing up. But then obviously the Red Wings, they started this whole separate thing. So I was fortunate that I kind of fell in love with that team.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with the late Ray Shero about being a kid and watching his dad, Fred, coach. He's coaching the Philadelphia Flyers, and I want to say, Gabby, you can help me with this one. I think it's 1972, and it's last game of the season. It's 2-2. The Flyers are playing the Buffalo Sabres. They get to tie their into the playoffs. And with 4 seconds left, Jerry Bean with a floater from just under the blue line scores. The Flyers lose, and they're not going to the playoffs. And Ray said, he was sitting there with his mom watching the game. He said he couldn't stop crying. Mm-hmm. He could not stop
sobbing. Like, we think about the families of managers and coaches. Like, did you live it like that with your dad?
Yeah, you get so attached to those teams, and obviously you're younger and you're such a fan. Like, you live and die by and like, we don't really have the luxury of doing that now because we have a job to do. But I mean, we're certainly fans of our team, and we get down when we lose. But we're always like, okay, we got to figure out how are we going to fix this. Like, you're always in the mode of trying to be a problem solver. But as a kid, you're just a fan of the game, and you get so tied up in the highs and the lows, which go with being a fan.
Well, okay, again, Fluff Bruce here is here. Okay, I own this, it's a Tier 3 junior team, so it's like midget AA in Edmonton.
Hershey Cubs, come on,
Hershey
big
Cubs,
them, big them up, Bruce, big them up.
Well, but here's the problem. My son's coaching.
Okay.
Okay, so you're in Chicago, and I happen, when I'm not doing anything, to go to all the practices. Did you find when you were in Chicago and your dad was the advisor that he would pick up the phone all the time, and like I leave the rink all the time, said, "Shut up, don't say anything." Just, like I'm being way too like on top of it, like because you can't let go. So like, I mean, did you get a lot of those phone calls and say, "Son, I think this should happen"?
No, my dad was always very. I mean, looking back on it now, I think he was always very cagey. The way that he would, I think he certainly had thoughts or ideas for our team, but what he would always do is he would call me and he would just say, I was watching this game, the Dallas Tampa game last night, and so we just start talking hockey, and then once he would tell me things that you should have seen this player, here's this thing, and then he would say, I was watching your game too, and then like he would kind of weave it in, so he would get to the point that he wanted to make about things that he was noticing that we could do differently, but he didn't just call me and like say, you need to do this. It was always more conversational, and I think that's where there was an art to that.
It in.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really good. That's really good.
I'm always curious, like, who goes into someone's personality? And we certainly know about your father, and we've talked plenty about Scotty. I understand that your grandmother was intensely
feisty,
competitive.
Yes.
The story that I was told is if she would lose at euchre, she would throw the cards in the fireplace.
Yeah.
That's true?
Yeah, that's the same. I mean, I never saw it myself because I was young, but I heard the same stories that's what she was like. She was definitely the feisty one, and like my grandfather, my dad's father, was much more a quiet guy, and just kind of like a hardworking guy. He was a blacksmith, came over from Scotland. Like, and you think back to what it was like for them, like, such a different life than we've had. Like, can't imagine leaving where you are by yourself, just traveling across the water with no idea of a new life. And he left his wife and his kids in Scotland, and they eventually came over like a couple years later. So just a very hardworking guy. But my grandmother was the one that I think my dad got his feistiness from.
Now, did they play euchre in Scotland? Is that what you're saying?
No,
I thought that was a Canadian
I think
game.
that's when she was over here in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, once she got
I wanted
here.
to take my pride. They can't play that over there. Okay, you've been doing this for a while now, so everybody has. Do you have a favorite trade that you just came away at, maybe 2 years later and go, man, that really worked out for us?
Not really a favorite trade that really worked out kind of unexpectedly. I think the ones you kind of.
What Bruce is asking is, who are you happy to get rid of?
No. I was wondering if, like in 2015 when we played you, this is where I was going with that. Was there somebody that you traded for that sort of was like I think that was the year you won the cup when you beat us in the conference finals. Was there somebody there that you go, man, am I glad I picked him up?
No, I guess one of the early trades we made was we got Nick Leddy from Minnesota, and I think there was a change in management there, and I think someone else. I always find when the GM didn't draft the player, there's like less of an affinity for him. So we traded Cam Barker there, and I think Nick's still playing, right? He's had a really good career, and I think he came along, and I guess the one that maybe wasn't that sexy at the time, but turned out to pay dividends for us was when we got Michael Handzus from San Jose at the deadline. He was not even really playing much in San Jose, but that's the one thing where you have when a coach has a relationship with a player, and Joel knew him from St. Louis. And he said, like, and I remember telling Joel at the time, like, you know, he's not even really dressing there, and our scouts are watching him. He's not doing anything. He said, trust me, I know this guy can play. He's very smart. He's not fast. He's slow, but he's always been kind of slow. And he ended up, you know, playing really with Kane on the second line that year when we won the Cup. And I think that was probably unexpected that he was going to come in and do that from a guy that was really in and out of the lineup in San Jose, and then became a big part of our Cup run.
Great size, great skill.
And the thing is,
awesome.
though, like San Jose back then were really good. So it's not like you're thinking today's San Jose and a guy's not playing.
No,
back then they were extremely
He just didn't
good.
really he didn't have a role there, and I think that I'm thinking if he's not able to get in the lineup there, is he really going to be able to help us that much? And is he going to be able to play with Patrick Kane? Like, he's not a really fast player, but he was the guy that you could trust, and I think a lot of it with coaches is trust. Like if you trust the guy and you know that he's going to be able to play the way that you want to play, he's got the instincts, and I think that was the biggest thing. Joel knew that he'd help us, and he was right.
There was. Let me stick on trades here. I'm curious. I'm kind of going a little bit of a fishing trip here with you, Stan. I apologize. Not really. When your dad was in Buffalo, there were a couple of trades that were always rumored that never happened. I think there was a Paul Coffey, Richard Martin, and I think there was an 82 draft. Your dad tried to move up to get Scott Stevens. They ended up getting Phil Housley, which is like, as far as consolation prizes go, that's really good. But one of the things that I've always wondered about is once managers retire and all the players that they manage are all out of the game, how come managers kind of guard the trades that never happened? The greatest trade, like they guard it, and you know they take it with them until they draw their last breath.
That's true. Yeah, I guess you never really talk about the trades that you didn't make, and I think sometimes part of it is there's so many of those that have. There's a few that I can think of right now that I'm not going to share with you. That,
I was going to say the floor is yours.
No, that's true. That a couple of things have been pitched to me that. I'm glad I didn't do them, but they sounded somewhat interesting at the time. I don't know why that is. I guess it's just the nature of our sport that we don't really want to share all those things. And kind of keep it quiet, and we're different than other sports that way, for good or for bad.
Well, I think just for me, like if you shared that with everybody, and then the players on your team, and he goes, "What? They've been trying to get rid of me for like the last 3 months."
I think like you do it like when everybody's retired.
Yeah, when they're done.
You know, like we always all want to know, like who Bill Torrey was offered for Dennis Potvin. Right. The five. Like, was it Shutt? Was it like who were the players? And we'll
see. That's an interesting.
Never know.
That's an interesting story. Was that an offer? Or
there were five, I was told it was, and I think the common wisdom is it was 5 roster players from the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for the first overall pick that was Dennis Potvin.
Wow. Dennis was pretty good.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's
almost
just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, I hated him so much. Like, I mean, and I didn't play against him much, but in junior, there were still 21-year-olds back then. So when you were an 18-year-old and you're playing against Dennis and he's getting 100 points and 300 minutes and penalties, he would hurt you so bad. And he's sort of lost in the shuffle with the Bobby Orr and all the great ones. But he was right up there, I would think, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you know, let me frame it this way. My wife is an artist. And one of the questions I always ask her is, how do you know when a piece is done? Like, how do you know when to like walk away and it's finished? And she gives you various answers that are way over my head. How do you know when you know your hockey team? Like, it doesn't happen in the first 5 games, the first 10 games, the first 15 games. Tell me when to stop, 20, 25, 30. Like, when do you as a manager have a handle on, okay, I know our team this year? Because it changes every year.
It does change every year. It also depends sort of on the composition of your team. Like, I think last year's team for us in Edmonton, we were an older team, and we didn't have really anybody in our team who was going to improve over the season. So one of the things we tried to do this year, coming into the year, was to have a couple younger players within our group, so that, because it's always challenging as a manager if the only way your team gets better over the season is if you add new players. Because trades are hard to make. The salary cap has made it tough. There's, especially now, especially this year, there's not a lot of teams that are really looking to move their players because everyone's trying to stay in the mix, and it's a very competitive year so far. So if you're relying on trades at the deadline to improve your team, then what if there isn't a trade? So we wanted this year to be a little bit different. So like I'm hoping we do have a few younger guys in our lineup now, and the idea is they may not be where we want them to be in November, but if we stick with them and watch them develop, that when we get to March and April, they're going to be much better versions of themselves. Thereby, our team is continuing to evolve. But back to your question, I don't know if you're ever happy. You're always kind of tinkering. Like
Sure.
I don't. I've never remember a year when I think we've kind of got our group set, and this is our group. I think that's just the nature of where we are now with the competitive balance. It's probably the best it's been in years right now. So you're always trying to find edges. I mean, I had some conversations today with other managers, just like nobody's super thrilled with where they're at least the guys I was talking to today.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to see, it doesn't make sense to do something, or, a lot of it's just talk though. Like I think everyone's looking at, our ability to make moves is difficult too.
That is, by the way, just for newer viewers and listeners to this show or to hockey, managers having conversations and trying to like help each other, right? Like, okay, what do you need? Can I help you here? This is what I need. Maybe you can help.
What are you looking for?
What are you looking for?
Yeah.
I remember Brian Burke told me when he started, he said the way that you would judge a trade, it was a good trade if the guy you made the trade with got fired. That's how you judge it. Oh yeah, he just
Take him to the cleaners.
Took him to the cleaners. He got fired. That was a good trade. Oh, they're all pirates.
Right.
Are there any pirates anymore?
No, I would say that was sort of a bygone era. I think the game has evolved. The game is a lot more complex now. If you just look at like coaching staffs, like think about when you started coaching, and you look at the staff now that we have. Like it's incredible how many more people are.
Yeah.
It's just a more sophisticated, operation right now. So I think it's really hard to just take someone to the cleaners.
It is. Like, I mean, I know when I first started, I was the coach, and you'd have the best defenseman run the defense.
Right.
He'd change them because you're too busy with the coaches. And I can't even remember back right now when your dad was coaching. Was he by himself on the bench?
Yeah, for the most part he was. Yeah.
Because but nowadays, like, I mean, with the analytics going and with the tablets on the bench on everything, like it still drives me nuts here. Like, I mean, when I see all the players watching their last shift, because to me, when we were growing up, we were always taught that you watch the player that you're taking when we call your name, so there's no penalties for and now they're all watching the tablets. So like the first 10 games, all you see is these too many men on the ice or not enough men.
You're blaming the tablets for
that.
that.
I blame that. I just, put that thing away. You missed the play.
Would never
You're
want to
horrible.
blame a coach, Gabby. Would never want to blame a coach for the too many men on the
because,
ice.
Listen, I used to religiously look at team penalties. And anytime I was getting near the top, like 8 minutes in penalties or stuff, I would get in so many, because that's totally you're looking at the coach right then. So I mean, like when we did when those penalties were assessed, I would get so mad and would go down the bench and who didn't know what was going on? Like, come on. Like, but it happens. But you've got now, I don't know how many people in your analytic department. I mean,
Oh yeah, we've got 6 or 8 people.
Yeah. And I mean, they come down with the analytics every day, and it's so much different than the feel you used to have when you just started.
Right.
Because now, I mean, I would venture to guess that Chris they're getting stuff in between periods that we're not getting enough dump-ins, or our exits are terrible, our entries are terrible or are great, and what to reinforce when you're going in for your little meeting.
Or adjustments.
Or adjustments.
You're not going to make dramatic changes like
No.
in game, but sometimes there's usually maybe one thing that's really causing you trouble that you need to make adjustments to. But I think it's just a sign of the times. Everything is more sophisticated now than it was in 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It changes a lot over time, and we're just trying to stay modern with that stuff.
Speaking of adjustments, every time I would talk to your dad, I would always steer it. I know I'm just like biasing the jury here, but because he's so thoughtful. We talk about like improvements to the game, like tweaks to the game and things that you would change. And we talk a lot about two-line passes millions of years ago. If it were up to me right now, if I could make like one rule change today, I'd get rid of neutral zone faceoffs. Opening of a period and after a goal, that's it. Otherwise, drop the puck beside the goalie, keep it in a hot area, don't have faceoffs in the neutral zone. That's just me. If you could change something, because you come from a family of like progressive thinkers in the NHL, like was there anything that you look at and you go like, maybe we could tweak this? I mean, we talk about it at managers' meetings.
Well, yeah, we do. I think the interesting thing about all these ideas, that's an interesting one you just proposed, is everything ends up having somewhat of an unintended consequence that you're not going to even know about it until.
Except offside, Stan. That's been great.
You think so?
No, it's been horrible.
I know. It's we've had a few of those on this road trip actually. One went against us and one went for us.
Yeah, I'm cursing Matt Duchene still.
Well, I know, and I think that I actually had a chat with Stephen Walcom about like how do we get where we are, and it's hard to kind of unwind all that. We are where we are. But I think no matter what you do, whether you like put the red line back in, take it out, like a lot of different things happen over time, but they don't happen right away. And I give coaches credit that they are good at exploiting whatever weaknesses there may be in any change that you make.
Yeah.
So I think our game is in a good place. I think you can tinker with it here and there. And there's a lot of interesting thoughts that people have put forth, but like one idea my dad had talked about before is like once you gain the zone, then the offensive zone, the blue line sort of goes away. And
ball hockey rule, yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah, and like I don't know then how that would change. Would it change the way teams forecheck, or I don't know.
You know, there's a league in Europe now for the 3-on-3.
They're doing that?
No, what they're doing with the 3-on-3 is if you regroup in the neutral zone, because that's what 3-on-3 hockey is, it's endless neutral zone regroups, whistle blown, penalty, face off in your own zone. That's music to my ears.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could either do that, and you're gonna hate what I'm gonna say now, Bruce.
Yeah, of
you
course.
could either do that,
Okay.
or for the overtime, you could just get the coaches off the bench.
Yeah.
What?
Coaches are wrecking all the fun of the 3-on-3. Coaches got their hooks in the 3-on-3, and it's not fun
Well, I
anymore,
know there was
Gabby.
one last night that was really boring. There must have been 7 whistles in overtime. I'm going, what the heck's going on? That's not allowed, you know. So anyway, let's. I don't have any. I had a question, then you changed. You said something, and I lost it in there.
All right.
But I do want to let you know that, like, I love your dad, and I used to phone him all the time, and ask him questions, and because he'd always phone me, like when I first got let go here in Washington, and he'd tell me everything's okay, blah blah blah, and you know he'd really console me, and I thought that was great. But I always asked him, listen, if the other team has got the momentum and they're going at you, how do you slow it down? Because he was a master at that. And like, I mean, he would sit there and he would take as long as it had to take on the phone, and to do that, to tell me the things that he used to do to slow down the play. And I just thought that was amazing.
What did he do?
Well, you know, he'd do something like change one player at a time. Okay, like, I mean, have them come over until the refs come over. Get a few icings right off the bat just to change it and slow it down. And I thought that, like, wow, I never realized any of that. Or every whistle have a line change. You know, these kind of things.
It
so
just
I mean,
slows the game
yeah,
down.
like, I mean, I just thought that was so genius, and it was like, I mean, it was right when I was starting to coach too, so it came at a great time. So I just wanted to throw that at you.
Was that a thrill as a kid? Like, you're a hockey fan, and there's like, hey, you know, like Serge Savard just called the house,
Right.
Or like pick a hockey celebrity. Like, was that cool? Like, were you numb to it as a kid?
Yeah, like
Or was it like, wow, this is really cool?
No,
like Gilbert Pro's on my couch.
Like when you're younger like that, you don't have a frame of reference, so like I just assumed everyone's dad was like I had no idea that I was. And when these people would call, it didn't faze me because it was all I knew, right?
Yeah.
And then you get older and you meet different friend groups and like especially like in high school, then everyone's like, you realize like, wow, it's a little bit different. Like my dad's in this different stratosphere than everyone else is as far as people wanting to know what he does, right? But back to the other rule, one of the things I remember, one of my first GM meetings was Bob Gainey was talking, and I remember at the time I thought like this is kind of a weird idea, but he thought that you shouldn't be allowed to block shots. You shouldn't be able to like leave your feet.
I remember.
I remember at the time I'm thinking like that's kind of weird, but now when you watch the game today, the way that it's evolved, that if you get a penalty if you ever leave your feet to block a shot, go down on a knee. That would definitely change the game. I don't know if we need to do that or not, but I know that if you watch any game tonight, you'll see that it's hard to get pucks to the net. Guys are so committed. It used to be in the old days, like only a few guys would block shots.
Craig Ludwig.
Yeah.
The big shin pads.
Now everyone blocks shots.
Yeah.
It's really caused some challenges to try to create offensive opportunities.
Well, off of that, if you look at today, how many injuries there are. Everybody's got so many injuries. Like, I mean, if you put something like that in, and because it costs a lot of money now when all these players are out, right?
Right.
As we know. And so, I mean, if you couldn't go down and put yourself in harm's way by going down, I'll bet you it would save injuries, get more shots on goal. Because I don't know if, like, I'm sure you've noticed it, but I mean, when I look at the box scores all the time, like, where it used to be an anomaly if you had 20 shots on goal or 22 shots on goal, it's like every night one team, it's not, you don't have 37 to 31 anymore.
No.
It's almost impossible to get shots through.
Well, part of that reason too is I think people are realizing that they pass up good shots to try to get like that lateral play. Like I watched a game from like 20 years ago, and it's just funny if you go back and watch like just a full game from 2008.
It's table hockey.
You'll see guys like they're coming down, they're shooting the puck right at the goalie, like no screen, nothing.
Yep.
Now
and the goalies are 20 feet out of their net too,
right?
to challenge.
And they're like, well, that never happens nowadays. Like no one ever. You get the puck in the slot with nobody in front of you. Most guys are not shooting that. They're trying to pass it to the sideboards.
Yeah.
To that guy because he's going to have a chance to one-time it in the net.
That to me has like been one of the biggest innovations.
Right.
The pre-shot movement. As kids, I mean, I know I was always heard this, and you guys probably heard the same thing. You can't teach touch.
Right.
Oh, Mike Bossy was born to be a goal scorer. You can't make goals. You can make goal scorers. Well, hey, all the nonsense that we were told growing up about you're born a natural goal scorer.
How do you make a goal scorer?
Well, there's a lot.
It's tough to score.
It is hard to score, but there are ways you can get players to get higher
goal scorers
higher quality shots on net.
Well, actually, Chris Kreider talked about that recently over the summer. He was talking about, if you look at his history, he went from like 20, 22, 28, 24, 52 goals all of a sudden, then 40, and then 38. And he was talking about how he spent a lot of time. He didn't score 50 until he was in his late 20s, which is pretty unusual. Like most goal scorers are goal scorers when they're younger. But I think he studied it. He learned like sort of where pucks go and how to. His big thing was, I mean, he talked about it on a podcast. I'm not breaking any news. Just how quickly to get the puck off. He said like
don't dust.
The most important thing is just the quickness. It doesn't matter how hard you shoot it or where you shoot it. It's how quickly you get it away.
Yep.
Because if you get it and hold it for a second, doesn't matter if you have the goalie's going to make that save.
Yep.
And that's something that is sort of in the modern game now. It's all about getting the puck, getting the goalie to move. And when the goalie has to move, the pre-shot movement, that's when their save percentages just go way down.
Yep. And with that thought in mind, you can see why the slap shots are almost out of the game. Everything's just pull and shoot, right? Like, I mean, you don't see Bobby Hull coming down the boards and taking the big heater anymore.
They've gone down. I mean, so they were tracking it. The number of slap shots taken, it's gone down every year, and this year it's even down from last year.
You can't. There's two shots. Like the slap shot is evolving out of the game, and remember that. Geez, and Pugliarvi used to do it too. It drive me crazy watching that long drag before your shot.
Yeah,
that's gone too.
I know.
Like that one's gone
was a
as well.
Semin thing too. Like if you remember, Semin used to bring it way back, and he'd either shoot it and it'd be great, or he'd miss half of them, and they'd go behind him because he was trying to drag it so much. So.
Okay, last one would be, you're being very generous with your time, but I do have to ask about Connor McDavid. What went through your mind when he made the decision that he did?
I was relieved. That was the first thing that
Yeah.
went through my mind. But I think it was sort of on brand for who Connor is. Like, as I've gotten to know him, you know, he really is the ultimate. All he cares about is winning, and it's not about anything other. It's not about money. It's not about recognition for him. It really is just about, and that's why he's such a great leader. Is he leads by example, and he doesn't focus about. I knew it wasn't about the money for him, but the fact that he signed this contract that he's at right now, I mean, I don't know how else you could demonstrate your desire to try to, you know, give the team the best chance to win. And so yeah, he's a pleasure to watch every night.
Yep.
I mean, it really is just amazing the things he can do, and it's also pretty neat to be able to just be around him and get to watch him do his work every day, because he's the ultimate leader.
Is he like that in practice and stuff? Like, wow, that's amazing. That's I respect him. Hate him so much. Just a quick story. We're playing Edmonton, and he picks up the puck inside the blue line. Now, you got to be above him or you're in trouble, right?
Yes.
And so he picks up the above, and Ryan Suter's skating backwards, and he's going, uh-oh. And it's right at the bench in Edmonton, and he just blows by him like he's just standing still.
He's done it to everybody.
Yeah, and that stays with me all the time when we talk about him.
I still remember it was a Thursday night against St. Louis, Connor's first game with the Oilers, and I saw something that I'd never seen before. Just what you were talking about, gets the puck and starts to go, and the king of the sea cut, Jay Bowmeister, Connor's closing on him fast, and he turns. And I've never seen anyone make Jay Bowmeister show his numbers.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is this kid's first game, and he's making Jay Bowmeister turn.
It's amazing. I mean, you
special.
think like how there's like new young great players coming up, like, but there's just nobody that's close to his speed.
No.
Even after all these years, you know, that he's been in the league, he's still just. I mean, you watch him in a morning skate, he's just flying around. So it's pretty cool.
It's amazing, I think. Just watch, and I find, like, as a coach, that I would find just watching him, you know, during the game when he's on the ice, you get sort of tunnel vision, and you forget who's up, and because you're watching him.
Next thing you know, you're taking a 2 minute on the ice penalty, and you're blaming your players.
And then you want the tablet to see what he did.
But it's those damn tablets, Gabby. Stan, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for doing
guys.
this. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's Oilers general manager Stan Bowman. We thank Stan for his time, and we thank the Oilers for making him available as well. Quick thought on Edmonton here. Like, this is a team that are notoriously slow starters, and they've always sort of relied on their second half surge. Kind of a dangerous way to play or a way to perform, but when you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, it is understandable. But this year kind of feels different for the Oilers.
It does feel different. Like, I mean,
yeah, is it incumbent on Stan to make a move here?
I think he has to. You know, I mean, we're looking at this on a Monday, and the goaltending was great yesterday, and for them to finally win a game, and they're losing games in overtime and that. But I just don't feel. I look at their roster, and I don't see it. I don't see them being a dominant team that can win 18 out of 20 games like they did at one point last year and then get back up there. I think other teams have caught up to them. I mean, it seemed like in watching that Washington game that they were just waiting for Draisaitl and McDavid to do something. And that was it. Like, I mean, when they're out there, okay, let's see if we can score. When we're not out there, let's see if we can prevent a goal. And I didn't get that feeling at all in that game. I hope it changes. I mean, I love to see a lot of Canadian teams in the playoffs, but I think they're going to be a struggle to be there, to be quite frankly.
Hey, Gabby, speaking of Canadian teams, if the playoffs started today, you know how many Canadian teams would be in?
One? Yeah.
One. The Ottawa Senators. That's it. Canada's hope in the nation's capital. Everybody's out of the playoff picture in Canada. It's tough sledding north of the border right now. It is tough sledding. Gabby, a couple of things around the Washington Capitals. We mentioned Dylan Strome and his expanding family off the top of the show, but there's a really interesting piece at NHL.com written by Tom Galiti about Nicklas Backstrom, who, of course, had to shut it down in the NHL with hip issues. He turned 38, by the way, on Sunday, and he's back playing in the Swedish league for Brynäs, playing for the quote unquote love of the game. But interesting in this one is on his team, some former teammates that you'll know: Michael Kempny, Christian Juice, Johan Larsson, Axel Jonsson, Fjallby, and you mentioned Jacob Silfverberg, who you had in Anaheim earlier on the program. Jacob Silfverberg also on that team, I believe, playing on the line with Nicklas Backstrom as well. Does any of this surprise you?
None of it surprises me. I'm really glad that Nicky's back playing. I think hockey's so much better when Nick's playing. I don't care what country it is, what league it's in, and that's great.
Yeah.
And Sylvie was the same kind of thing. He was hurt a lot, but I think he would be a perfect winger. He would have been the perfect winger in his prime with Alex and Nick, because he's a setup guy. He's a get in the corners kind of guy. He's got a great release on his shot. He would be able to finish pretty well. It's a great bunch of old timers playing in the Swedish league, and I'll bet you they're doing pretty good. I'm hoping they're doing pretty good anyway. Haven't looked into it, but I mean, I'd love to talk to Nick to see how he's doing. I think that's something we've got to set up at one point this year. But he's still my favorite player that I ever had, and I remember so well that the first day I took over, he had been playing fourth line all year, getting no minutes. I pulled him aside and I said, "You're going to center Alex Ovechkin, and you're going to be the first power play guy, and you're going to start scoring." And I think he got a goal and assist that game, and he just never looked back.
I love the guys that, and this is maybe why I always admired Peter Forsberg. I always love the guys that have to be dragged off the ice. The guys that are like, if I can still play, I'm going to keep playing. I don't subscribe to the belief that you should, leave the stage while the audience is still clapping. Oh, look at what they're doing in their career, diminishing the memory of their career. I think that's all poppycock. I like the guys that are going to, as long as they can stay on the ice, are going to stay on the ice. That's why I loved reading this piece and seeing that Backstrom is back on the ice in Sweden.
Yeah, and I subscribe to that. And I always thought as a career, I wanted to play till I was 50. Okay. And thought that would be the only way that they would get me off the ice. Gordie Howe played till he was 52. I thought I could do it as well. And, but when you're in the minors and you get 1 year deals every year of your life for about 10 years, and somebody offers you a 3-year deal, that's the only reason that I quit playing hockey. Because my last year I had 87 points or something, and I thought I could continue playing. But when they offer you a 3-year deal to coach, you sort of take it. But I really subscribe to the fact that I would have played if I had to do it all over again. I mean, the career went pretty well in the end, but would have loved to continue playing till they had to drag me off the ice.
One other Caps issue, a name that's really making more and more noise around the Olympics and Team Canada is Tom Wilson. Now, I'm of the belief that, and I know the NHLers got scotched from going last time around, I believe that Tom Wilson was going to be on that team. And it seems as if, we get closer and closer to the date here, and we'll see what happens with the arena, which is a whole separate issue. But it seems like there's a lot of momentum around Tom Wilson. How do you feel about that?
And there should be, quite frankly. I mean, listen, this guy is not the same Tom Wilson that came into the league 10 years ago. I mean, he is a guy that he's out there all the time in penalty killing situations, defensive situations. When you need to get the puck out, he's in there. He is, and he's still, when he skates around, still puts the fear of God into every other player. And I look at the goal that the Caps scored on Saturday night when Tom Wilson just ran the guy in the corner, and they end up scoring the go-ahead goal or the winning goal. But that's what he brings. I mean, he brings the strength on the boards. And even though the Olympic-sized stadium is bigger, you need strong guys that win one-on-one battles. Forever, you can hear about all the analytics in the world, but in the end, who wins games are the teams that win the one-on-one battles all over the ice. Tom Wilson is a guy that wins all those one-on-one battles, and he can score. So he's on a 40-goal pace. So, I mean, to me, he should be on the Olympic team. I hope to goodness he is, because he certainly has deserved it. Reminds me, you'll get this, maybe nobody else will get it. When Stan Mikita played, he went from a tough guy and everything to straight to the Lady Bing. And Tom Wilson has sort of done the same thing, where he's gone from a guy that everybody feared because he was going to do something stupid to a guy that plays an honest game and can really play. And I think other than Alex, he's the leader of that group, and the Caps show it all the time.
To me, the key is penalty killing. I'm glad you mentioned that. To me, that's the one area where I look at and I say that's where. Listen, they're playing on the 200 by 85 NHL size surface, so international ice hockey surface is not going to come into factor here. Where you're going to say,
okay,
we need burners.
But it's international rules, though. International rules, right?
But here's the thing about Wilson, and you mentioned this off the top too. This is not the same guy. Like, as the years have gone on, like, the hardest thing to do in hockey is score a goal. I think we're all on the same page about that. I've always maintained the second hardest thing to do in hockey is to hit perfectly and hit hard perfectly. Hitting is really hard to do. And I know Vancouver Canucks fans don't want to hear that the Philip Hedl hit was clean, but it was. And we just saw him, run over, Jake Evans of the Montreal Canadiens. And these are all clean, hard hits. I know the IIHF standard is different, but still, I don't think you're looking at a situation where Tom Wilson is going to put you, behind the 8 ball because of a bad hit. He's kind of mastered the find the line and walk the line when it comes to contact.
I agree. Sorry, I was just looking. We have a couple new house guests, and they're roaming the house right now, so I don't know. I was just looking at where they were.
Do you want to tell us about the new house guests?
Well, we've got last year for the last 8 years we had a Newfie dog, and it was my wife. Sorry, if she heard that, she'll kill me. It was my wife's favorite friend, and we lost her. So she waited 3 months and found a farm that was breeding these, and she said, I'd like to go get a new one. And I said, okay, let's go get another dog. And because it was great for her. And so while I was in Washington last week, and I came home, and lo, to my surprise, she decided to get 2. So we got now 2 Newfies living with us, and I'm not talking people. 2 Newfie dogs living with us, and they're very small right now. But I know that they'll be 160 pounds in a year, and now they're roaming around like they own the place. But like every baby that you get, and these are only 8 weeks old, they have a tendency to not look for the toilet when they're going to the bathroom all day long. So we're picking up and cleaning up all day long. So inside I'm cursing, but I know it will work out in the end.
Do you live on the ark or something? It's like it's billet hockey players, it's animals. What's going on there, Gabby?
Well, it's beyond me. For a guy that I've got 4 kids, but right now, for people that don't know, we billet 5 players for our junior team in our house.
Yep.
Okay. We now have 2 cats, 2 dogs. Thanksgiving's coming. Her whole family's coming. So I am begging the Caps. I am begging the NHL Network. Let me work. I will go there. I will be there. There's just too many people.
You got a room at the table, Gabby.
An ark is what we need. I'm surprised that if we have turkey, that they're not alive when we get them. And around.
Best of luck, and
anyway.
We congratulated Dylan Strome for the new addition to the family. We'll do the same to you on your 2 new additions to the Boudreau family. It's a 3-game week for the Washington Capitals, all at Capital One. Tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Wednesday, Winnipeg Jets are in town, and Friday they face off against the Toronto Maple Leafs. One thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on Saturday, the Maple Leafs got waxed by the Montreal Canadiens. This was like all 3 periods of Montreal doing essentially whatever they wanted. And one of the sidebars in this one, and he got in a fight with Dakota Mermis and did very well. No surprise, a really tough player. Florian Jacki got called up by the Montreal Canadiens from AHL Laval. And that's Arbor Jacki's brother. So now we have the brother tandem on the Montreal Canadiens. Capital T tough. You've played with brothers, the Howes most notably. What can you share about that experience?
Well, playing with Mark and Marty was really special. Mainly, Mark became my best friend the year of the Marlies because we always hung out together and everything else. And I would go to his house in the summer for a weekend. He would stay with me for a weekend. So we became pretty tight there for a while. But the best story I can tell you about this is if the Leafs played Detroit on a Saturday night, the Marlies always played Sunday. And Gordie Howe would get to stay to watch his sons play. And
oh, wow.
One of the things, so we'd always have Gordie in the stand. So one day we're playing and I got hit or something and I stayed down on the ice. I don't know why, a lot like what they do now. They stay down and they throw their gloves
did
and
we get
everything
the
else.
5? Did we get the 5? I'm not getting up until we get the 5. Yeah.
So I got up and I went to the dressing room. And as I was going to the dressing room, I'm seeing from the Reds at Maple Leaf Gardens, somebody walking down the stairs, and it's Gordie. And he follows me right into the dressing room. And he said to me, and I'll never forget the words. He says, if you ever stay on the ice again, I'm going to be so mad at you. Don't ever do that again. And I said, why? He says, you never want to let the other team know that they've hurt you. And so you get up, you get to the net, you suck it up, or you get to the bench, suck it up, and then you can be in as much pain as you want, but you don't want to let that other team know that they've hurt you. And I took that to my last day. And I swear to God, from that moment on, unless I had the wind knocked out of me and you can't move. I mean, I got up every single time that I got hurt and I got to that bench because Gordie said it.
What went through your mind right away? Here's the legend, one of the toughest and most skilled players to ever play the game. Guy that could shoot left, guy that could shoot right, didn't matter. Gordie could do it any way you wanted. What went through your mind when Gordie's following you into the room, just ready to tear into you?
Oh, I was scared stiff. I mean, listen, it was 1973. Gordie Howe was still was the greatest player in hockey, Mr. Hockey. And so, I mean, when he would say something to somebody like me, my eyes were wide open and I would not only listen, I would do anything he said. And he had that kind of influence on me for the rest of his life. And every time I met him, he was the same great human being. But I'll tell you a quick story. I went over to Mark's that summer and we're hanging around and Colleen's cooking breakfast and we're all sitting there. And Mark says, hey, Dad, what do you think? I mean, Bruce and I would like to go to a Tigers game today. And do you have any tickets or can you get us tickets? And he said, wait a second. And he got on the phone. It was the old dial-up phone. And on the other end, he calls, he says, hey, Al, you got any tickets for today's game? And he says, yeah, I'll give you my 2. And I says, okay. And he gets up and he says, yeah, okay. Al Kaline is giving me your 2 tickets. And my jaw dropped because back in that day, Al Kaline is like another mega superstar that they're on first name basis with, and was the first 2 rows right behind the Detroit Tigers dugout, and they were playing the White Sox, and it was Wilbur Wood versus Mickey Lolich in front of 50,000 people. A memory I'll never forget.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I love that one. That's fantastic. You're great when they just call you by your first name. Hey, Al, Gordie. Hey, Al, Gordie. That's awesome. Great story, yeah.
It was great, yeah.
All right, for your chance to ask Gabby a question, use the hashtag HeyGabby on social media, most specifically Twitter X. So here's one that comes in, Gab. Speaking of using the first name for a player or just using a nickname for a player, this comes to us from Ryan Drury. This is an interesting one. It's happened before. Bruce, do you think Ovi and Sid should have the 3-year waiting period waived when they retire by the Hockey Hall of Fame, sending both in immediately? Now, some context to this one, Gabby. It has happened before. I don't believe they're allowed to do it anymore, but nonetheless, there are 10 players who've had the waiting period waived. Here they are. Dit Clapper was the first, Rocket Richard, Ted Lindsay, Red Kelly, Terry Sawchuk, the great Jean Beliveau, Gordie Howe, whom you just talked about, Bobby Orr, Mario Lemieux, and Wayne Gretzky. Those are the 10 to have the waiting period waived. What about Sid and Ovi?
Well, first of all, those guys were pretty good too. I think in our generation, the last 20 years, that these two guys were the icons of hockey. And when it's all said and done, Ovi's going to have a record that nobody, I think, will ever break, is the goal scoring record. Sid might have a record of the most consecutive years with over a point a game, and many other accolades other than Stanley Cups. I think that if there's any two players that deserve it, these two are the guys. I would definitely make an exception and have those two guys in. And I think every 20 years or 25 years or something, however long they decide to play, somebody comes along and breaks enough records where why are we waiting 3 years? Like, to me, Yager should be in, but he continues to play forever.
Keep playing.
And so, they can't let him in because he's not retired for 3 years. But I still think that Ovi and Sid should be this. Let's throw the rule book out when it comes to those two guys. They're going in.
The other thing about it too is, and you can recall this, coming off the lockout of 204-205, the NHL completely redid themselves, both from how the game was played on the ice and how the game was marketed off the ice. And so much of it, and this was a first for the NHL, was marketed around Sid versus Ovi. You were in the middle of a lot of it, but so much of the NHL's initiative about selling the game was on the backs of those two guys. It wasn't just what happened on the ice for them. It was those two as the ambassadors or the new athletes for the new game of hockey. And I think that should go into the conversation as well, because what they did off the ice and how they were marketed was just as important.
And not only that, you look at both of the franchises when these guys came in. Pittsburgh was getting 8,000 people a game.
Yeah.
Washington was getting 6,000, 7,000 people a game. Now you look at those guys being there 20 years, that both of those franchises are at the top of the NHL franchises, the ones that you're looking at as great franchises. And I think it's because of these two players. So they've brought more to hockey than you can ever shake a stick at. Now, I don't know about in Pittsburgh, but I would venture to bet that of all the sports that Washington, D.C. has had ever, that the most popular athlete ever in Washington is Alex Ovechkin. So, he has put hockey on the forefront to me in this city. And I would wave it and say, just come on in, kid, you're there.
They're there for what they've done to the game on the ice, or with the game on the ice and off the ice. We finish up with story time, although the podcast kind of feels like it's an hour of story time. But here we go, the official story time segment here of the program.
Oh, now I have no idea what you're bringing up, right?
No, that's the best part about this, is I just throw a name out randomly at you. Now, listen, bias the jury. I do know a lot of your background and who you've played with and interacted with, but sometimes I really get surprised, Gabby. Let me throw a name out at you. Gabby, for story time, Tell us a story about Barry Melrose.
You know what? There's a lot of stories to talk about, but I mean, a great friend, great coach, ESPN for 25 years, superior guy. You know what he had was the greatest. He was the best at comebacks and quips and everything else that you could guess at. But yeah, the first day Barry got traded from Winnipeg to Toronto, and I got called up the very first time for. I don't know if it was the first time, but I got called up the same day. So we didn't know each other. And that day in practice, he's trying to show how physical he is and how tough he is. And I'm trying to show that I deserve to be called up. And he hit my head right in the glass, and I ended up slashing him, and we ended up getting in a little bit of a scuffle, and that we ended up laughing about it. But we became best friends. And we used to say, it used to be like, that commercial Bugs Bunny cartoon goes, he's your buddy, and it's the big dog and the little dog. That was like he would make fun of me all the time, and I'd be hanging out with him. But to my last game, I'll fast forward because there's so many things I could talk about Barry and me. But my last game, I was playing in the IHL. He was coaching Adirondack in the AHL, and they wanted to. They classified the IHL at that point still in as a rule that it was a lesser league than the AHL, so you could bring up players from a lesser league. But in fact, the IHL was equal at that point because we each had the same amount of farm clubs. And so he called me up to Adirondack, and I was able to play on a team that won the Calder Cup in my last year. And I thought that was so cool. And I remember him coming over to me and said, you're probably not going to play anymore because they just Detroit just sent this or they got kicked out of the playoffs, and Mike Sillinger is coming down, who was a first round draft choice at the time. So I said, fine, that's no problem. I had my chance with them, and Barry called me up, but just to think of me after he'd been there. And my first at 93 at the Quebec draft, I went and sought him out, and I said, I want to be a coach. And he was giving me all of these advice things again. And then the next thing you know, I got a job as a coach that year. So, I mean, there's so many things we could delve into that aren't drinking related. That I could talk about Barry Melrose about, but I mean, a great friend, love him dearly. And, and wish him the best.
Yeah, was that Calder Cup year? Was that Adirondack versus St. John's where a 7-game series with a home team never won a game?
Never won a game. Yeah. Isn't that
was one of the weirdest championships, like Gabby, one of the weirdest championships in the history of capital H hockey anywhere of any time.
When does that happen? Some teams win the first two on the road, then they'll lose the next two on the road, but then it equals out, right? Like, I mean, somebody wins a home game. This is a series that nobody won a home game.
It was one of the wildest things we've ever seen. And yes, as always, all the best to our friend and colleague and one of the great guys of the game, Barry Melrose. Thanks for joining us on the Hockey Lifers. We're back in 7 days.